Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Salzer with Plymouth State Athletics. In this special edition of our Coach's Corner, I'm joined by track and field and cross country head coach John Ostler. John, thank you for joining me.
Always a pleasure to join you there, Dan.
It's a great cross country season for Plymouth State this year. Men 3 of 9 in the LECs, up there in the top half in the NCAA regionals. Women on the other side, 18 of 58 at NCAA regionals, the best that they've ever had in a showing in NCAA regionals. Talk us through the progress of how the team has grown from the start of the year to the end of the season.
Yeah, well, I mean, we always kind of look to be better than we were last season, right? We accomplished that on both sides when we kind of measured ourselves against the other teams in our region. I thought that going into this season, the women's team was very young, and so we were going to need people to step up throughout the season. And we had that, right? We had Kim Bowles, who was a freshman, was our top runner consistently all year. And so for her to be able to do that, not only at the start of the year, but also finish off the year as a strong front runner for us was huge. And then on the guys' side, of course, we had a lot of parity kind of runners 3 through 10, really. There was a lot of guys that from week to week could be scorers. There are a lot of guys that could be varsity runners that might not even end up on the varsity team. And so it was fun to see those guys kind of have that good, competitive, healthy battle every day at practice, every single workout. And I think we ended up with a stronger team because of it, and that's part of the reason why we had our best finish ever at regionals and tied our best finish ever at LECs.
You talk about Kim Bowles, set a school record as your freshman year in the 6K. Sam Burnett, another school record for him in the 8K.
Shocking, right?
I know, right? Besides both of them, what have they brought to the table, but also how have they helped, and how does the rest of the team grow throughout the season, in addition to really get going towards playoffs?
Yeah, well, how they helped. I mean, anytime you have a fast runner, it kind of elevates everybody else's running in practice and effort in practice. Having someone in workouts every single Wednesday like Sam, I mean, it's the rising tide that lifts all boats. And so that's huge, not to mention the fact that, I mean, he's such a great exemplar for preparation, for diligence, for just kind of planning throughout the season. I mean, he really helped show a lot of our young guys, both men and women, what it takes to be a successful runner at the college level. And Kim kind of upset the apple cart, which is always good, right? In college athletics, you want some people to show up in year one and really just kind of like force people to be at the top of their game. And so I think Haley Dennis and Laura Jagier, who had been kind of traditionally top runners for us, were better because Kim came in and kind of gave us a little bit of a spark, and they couldn't just kind of rest on their laurels in their last season. So, those two, not only tangibly within the races, but kind of intangibly throughout practice and throughout the year, helped us a lot.
Looking at the end of the season, it was a tough going down a stretch, not statistically wise with where you were both the men's and women's finished, but also weather-wise, really. The LECs, monsoon weather, another tough race the following week at NCAA regionals. Talk us through how much the weather really kind of hampered both the men's and women's programs in the races and how it affected the overall standings.
Yeah, well, we don't like to kind of talk about it hampering us a lot because it's an outdoor sport. Being, in the elements, being in the weather, dealing with it is part of what we have to do as cross-country runners. And so we had to just kind of reframe what success meant for us, right? And we weren't able to kind of go after some of those fast times that maybe were some of our goals, but we could still just kind of boil it down to its basics, right? Compete against the teams that we're racing on that day and try and finish better than most, if not all of them. So we had to kind of reframe what success meant for us a little bit, but no, the same basic elements of what we're trying to accomplish as a team were still there. And frankly, from my standpoint, Plymouth is a tough place to run. It takes, a hardy person to be successful here. And so the worse the weather, I think the better for us.
Looking at things, Sam Burnett, again, going to the NCAA Nationals for the second straight year in Wisconsin. Talk to us, despite the tough finish for him, what was the game plan going in? What was his thoughts as well, where he thought he might finish? And also talk us through the situations that happened that people might not be aware of in that race.
Yeah, well, Sam had some really ambitious goals going into the race. I thought very appropriately ambitious. I think all year he had kind of put a resume on paper that, led me to believe that he could be one of the top maybe 20 to 15, maybe even top 10 runners in the country. And yeah, I was really happy with the preparation. I was happy with where he was going into that race that morning. And it just so happens which is kind of, happens sometimes in cross-country races, that early on when it's still really densely packed and there's still a lot of runners trying to fit into a very tight window, there was a fall that he was a part of. And, I think that played a role in what he was able to do. So he finished in the low hundreds. He finished 103rd, I believe. Mm-hmm. But, I was really proud of the effort that he gave still, because, the fall happened with about a half mile to go. He was down on the ground. He had a couple big-time cuts on his leg and that type of thing. But I was really happy with how he got back up. He battled. I think a lot of people could have just thrown their hands up and quit at that point. But he got himself back into a position where, he was running with some of the top runners in the country. But I think, probably just exerted a little bit too much energy trying to get back there, and, didn't have his legs under him for the last 3K. But I don't think that really takes away from the incredible season that he had. I think anybody that looks at kind of the bigger picture, I think would agree that he's an All-American caliber runner. He kind of belongs in that conversation with those top guys. And yeah, sometimes cross country is fickle, right? It's a fall, or it's a shoelace, or you don't have the right thing for breakfast, and it doesn't really kind of result in that on that last day of the season. So that's kind of the situation where we were. But no, he's still an incredible runner, one of the best in the country, and he'll certainly be back for track.
We talked in preseason at the end of August, and also now here at the beginning of the interview, of how dynamic this team was and ambitious going in, and how much talent both the men's and women's side had and has. Yeah. What's the expectations going into next season? What's the whole process moving forward to prepare for 2019?
Well, a lot of it obviously is recruiting, and so far the early returns on recruiting are good. I think we're going to bring in as good a freshman class this year on both sides as we've ever had. So that's awesome. But at the same token, I always kind of tell the team that, freshmen don't come in and kind of like determine what our season next year is going to be. Good cross-country seasons start with really good preparation in track and field, being successful in track, having some good results and taking some momentum into your summer training. It's, for distance runners, especially the cross-country runners, it is a year-round endeavor. And so as good as they can be here over the course of the next couple of months in indoor and outdoor, I think that all is going to contribute to cross country. So we just have to show up every single day, put in a little bit of work every single day, challenge ourselves, grow a little bit, and we'll start making goals for next cross country season at the beginning of the summer, and certainly by the fall we'll have a sense of what we're going to be able to do.
John, thank you for joining me. Thank you. Moving forward, we'll have a few more interviews coming up, but also congratulations on a great cross-country season, and good luck in the indoor season in spring coming up over the next few months.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate the time.